Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Talk Trackmania. We are back for another week here today at Tuesday, and it's 7 PM for me, or 7:10. We are a little bit late, but we'll blame Shorty this time around. It's Shorty's turn to take the blame, in my opinion, regardless of whose fault it is.
I take it.
Yeah,
I take it.
Shorty will take it. That's what I like to hear. But anyway, welcome back everyone who's watching, and welcome back to my lovely co-hosts LuckersTurbo and Shorty. We are back to discuss a little bit of the events that have kicked off. Of course, Trackmania Grand League has kicked off over the weekend there, but there's some other events of which we will be discussing, and we will be getting onto that in due course. But first, and as always, the podcast has been brought to you by the main man behind the screen, Erwin Weber, who is bringing us on behalf of ESAC.gg. So just a reminder to check out them and on the Twitter feed as well. However, just a little note as well, Shorty's PC is not yet working. He is working with what I believe is a tablet at the moment, however, is looking just as beautiful as always. So if you would like to contribute to Shorty's fund to get a working PC again, I'm sure Shorty will be able to provide you information about that. No, he does not have his PC, I'm afraid to say. But Shorty, you okay outside of that?
Well, I mean, I was actually having
What did
pretty
he
rough.
write again?
I just wrote, "Oh my God, Pork Shorty has his PC in full caps." I don't know. He just doesn't listen, but that's normal.
His camera actually does look better. I don't know
It's
why.
just a bit laggy, but that's it. I mean,
yeah,
can you
but
maybe
let's-
do this? Then we can see how laggy it is.
Hello. I mean, the
No,
thing
no.
is actually like OBS. Wait, let me try to make this. Now I can't see you, but it should be better. Let me also like close this. So like I had a pretty rough weekend in general because I had to drive home
Still
like
laggy.
5 hours over the weekend. Can you hear me though? Or is it just the cam?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
just the
working on
cam,
that
mate.
on the side, but
Yeah,
I'll
don't
get
worry
that
about it,
sorted.
don't worry about it.
I mean, it's literally the cheapest surface you can buy, and I just stuck like adapter there and put like hooked on the microphone and the webcam. So that's what I'm working with right now, and I'm also staring at like a black screen in front of me. It's super best setup. I had a pretty rough weekend because I had to like change my tires, and for that I had to like drive 4 hours or 5 hours back home over the weekend, which is not something you want to do over a weekend. But all in all, I'm fine. I sorted everything out with the PC gladly because people are like the Trackmania scene is awesome, as we all know it basically. So I ordered the new PC now. It's gonna arrive in like 4 or 8 days. I hope it's 4 instead of 8 because
Maybe
I kind of
2.
need it. I literally have to work with certain programs for the university, like for my study, and obviously this laptop, or as I like to call it, crap top, doesn't it just no, it's not prepared for this. I mean, OBS Ninja is literally telling me CPU overheated. That's why you see me like laggy. I can't do anything.
It's like men that can't handle more than one task at once. But how are you doing, Turbo, anyway?
Yeah, I had a good day. I spent time with my nephew and also with my sister. I had a good one, which was a bit exhausting. Had to wake up pretty early, so was coming home like 20 minutes ago. So it was rather stressy, like going into the train. Also with my hand, I just wanted to like take my mobile phone and put it into my bag, and it didn't work out because I don't have the strength to like grab something. Yeah, and then I dropped my mobile phone. It was a bit weird. But everything else was fine. I mean, the train was in time. Everything is good. But I just had a stressy but yet good day. And I hope that both of you, I mean, Shorty, it's great to see that actually more than 200 euro have been funded for your PC. I also contributed.
Actually true,
Yeah, so I have to plug myself
thank
for
you.
that as well.
Thank you
Yeah.
also as well, Kai.
Yeah, I mean, you
Also
try to
thanks
help.
to Irvin. I know he's listening, so
Yeah, I think he put like 80 euro in or something. That was
he actually
crazy.
did, yes.
What a madman. I mean, I felt like generous with my 20, and then I was scrolling through and I was like, dude, Jesus Christ, 80 euro, that is a lot of money. So, Erwin, that is very kind. That is very, very nice. But yeah, anyway, I hope that both of you are also doing great. I mean, on this beautiful Tuesday, it's gradually getting fall or autumn, and Christmas is only 2 months away. Yeah.
Christmas is only 2 months away, but my gift to you guys is, as always, and it is me in a box. But nevertheless, yeah, you're right. It is only 2 months to go until Christmas, and 2 months and a week or so. Sorry, a few more weeks. No, one more week. That's how numbers work. Until the new year as well, until we hit 2022. It feels like I went into this lockdown or this kind of pandemic 15 years ago at this rate, like it just feels like so strange now that 2022 is going to be happening and we still have this going on. But anyway, before I start getting depressed and crying on camera, because we know that's my favorite pastime, we do have another kind of week's worth of Trackmania things to talk about. Last week, of course, we brought up Trackmania Grand League, and it sounds kind of weird we only brought that up on the eve of it, so to speak. We also had the first week of the Challenger League TMGLC kicking off in the 2 hours before that, if I remember correctly. And secondly, another thing which we were going to tackle before we go on to the TMGL kind of side of things is events in general. And I believe, Kai, you wanted to kick us off with your thoughts.
Yeah, I just take it over here because, I was casting 2 competitions 2 weeks ago. And one competition had a prize pool of €300, and I wanted to just drop into round number 2, and then there were 2 quarterfinals because I don't know, 4 players have already qualified to the semifinals, and there were only 10 players who have shown up for an event with a prize pool of €300. The other €400 event, yeah, the player base was also not that much compared to other events. But it seems that the interest in those events is maybe a bit going away. Also, there was one competition, the Mini RPG Cup, where there was no interest. The prize pool there was also €200. And I asked myself, why is that the case? Is there so much going on in Trackmania? Is there in general a shift from events or stuff like that? Or is it because they don't market them properly? Because when there was a cup, like a €100 competition on a weekend, like 2 years ago. I mean, Scotty, you were casting those as well. Why
I
didn't
casted?
people? Yeah,
don't remember that.
Yeah, you casted those things, but why are players who are also not good players, who are average, mediocre? Because it's 2 weeks before TMGL Challenger or before OGL. 3 weeks before a tournament. Why didn't those players show up, or why is the player base stagnating in those smaller events that we've had beforehand?
I mean, it's an interesting it's an interesting question, and it's something we've kind of at least touched upon, as I do musical chairs here, but it's something we've at least touched upon when we've spoken about things like it being on the other side, that there was everyone playing every event, it felt like, and there was not really much room for progression. But now you're kind of having the opposite problem, that even if there is some sort of incentive, we're not going to be having as many people playing it, regardless of prize pool. And that was always, you put up a prize pool and everyone will come and play it outside of your prize fighters like Massa, Carl Jr., Pac, who only turn out for like the biggest events. But you had people like Aurel, turning up for everything, Elcon, Marius, Grenade, pick whoever it is you want. You always had these kind of people turning up and playing these sort of events. But let me introduce a little bit of a thought to this, whether you guys might agree with it or not, and not to necessarily put this to blame, but maybe as a contributing factor. A lot of now the event scene has been slowly transitioning towards using Nadeo maps and towards Nadeo competitions. I'll mean that by Cup of the Day. We'll mean that by the daily track of the day leaderboards, the fall campaign little competitions they do, and also you see other tournaments like the TSCC, of course, and other tournaments that are run by different people that do tend to focus on Nadeo maps. So I think we're seeing a little bit less support for things that are maybe utilizing different styles, like solely tech dirt, full speed, RPG, so on and so forth. It might just be that the player base is kind of slowly shifting towards events which are being used much more regularly, so to speak. And Nadeo is providing events, of course, now with Trackmania Grand League's open Grand League for everyone to try out as well. I mean, for some people, at least outside of a prize pool, if it's events they're after, then you could look at Nadeo or Nadeo's maps as a kind of one-stop shop. And I mean, not as many people are playing these kind of other events, and they've slowly had to transition over as well. But it might be a factor, I think, is just the shift towards a standardized competition style.
Good point.
It's difficult to say actually, because like we have no really like knowledge about that. I mean, maybe it's just that people are just. I mean, apparently also like the player amounts from like Cup of the Day has dropped for like 1K. Like maybe actually a couple like maybe the player base is just enjoying other games right now. I mean, I think in general
New
a
World.
couple of big. For example, I mean, I think that's not even the only big game that came out recently, right? I think isn't it around that time of the year right now where a lot of big games drop?
Yeah.
Call
of
yeah,
Duty,
Battlefield, for
Battlefield,
example,
yeah.
as well. I don't know how much influence that has on Trackmania, but definitely one thing that has a big influence on those kind of competitions is Trackmania, like the Challenger League, because I think almost all of the players in the Challenger League are the kind of players that usually would probably play those kind of competitions. If I'm right, I mean, Kai, you might probably know that better than me, but I think somebody like Elcon, Mime, I mean, you say it, but I think a lot of those players will definitely also play those cups. But in general, it's really, I don't know. I mean, the advertisement didn't really change, right? I mean, obviously the new game is definitely not helping with that, because in the old game you still had like some better opportunities to advertise competitions in game, but it's not like that has changed from now, like from yesterday to today. It already is like that since a year in the new game. So the advertisement is basically the same. I don't know about the two specific cups you're talking about, Kai, but unless they didn't follow the normal procedure to just advertise themselves on the TM News Discord, which basically all events do, then I wouldn't really see a reason why they would have that many less players, especially with the prize pool. And
Yeah.
probably, I guess the maps were also just decent, like normal maps, I guess. Nothing special there. So I don't know. It's difficult to say.
Yeah, I mean, there can be many reasons. Of course, they have promoted on the Trackmania News Discord, but also, yesterday someone asked in my chat, "Yo, is that a new car skin that you're using?" And it was just a car skin that I, didn't use in like 3 or 4 months. And that also means that a lot of new players are coming into the game and maybe also don't know where tournaments are advertised. That
Yeah,
people are
maybe.
using the Trackmania News Discord in order to promote their tournaments. And of course, also the in-game feature is not getting used that much. I think you can apply for that to be shown there. So I don't know how this works, but it should definitely be embedded into that there's a tournament and stuff like that. So it is definitely something very important. Of course, also one thing that you've said, Paul, is that of course there is a shift in Trackmania, that we have more casual approach, and also an approach where players tend to play campaign maps for matchmaking, for the competitions that SRK is doing, the seasonal stuff, and maybe they don't want to bother with that when they already know that players like Elcon, Marius, and Dionysos, for example, who played this competition, are playing, and they don't have a chance to win the prize money. So maybe that's also a reason behind that. But even beforehand, we had players playing, even though they didn't have a chance of winning, just to play, to gain experience. That's how you grow as a player. But I think there are many reasons, just from the Trackmania news Discord is not being that knowledgeable, maybe the maps, and also the whole advertising, that it's not in the game. Those are my things that I would like to, or that I think about. But also when I was like promoting that tournament like once or twice on my stream, also hardly anyone had interested in that, because I think a lot of viewers that are watching Trackmania are also maybe not even playing the game.
Yeah, I mean, you do get I mean, of course, you do have a lot of people coming into different people's chats nowadays, and a large majority of them do at least still play the game actively. But of course, there's always going to be that portion that are no longer as deeply involved in it. But when you talk about the advertising side of things, one thing, if I'll kind of add my 2 cents to it, that really kind of turned me off competitions in general was just the fact that gradually it felt like everything was going into the exact same format, not in terms of like how it worked as a tournament or anything like that, but nothing stood out in how they advertised things, and nothing stood out in the way they presented the cup. The only thing that seemed to change is what the cup was focused on. Was it a tech cup? Was it a multi-style cup? Was it this or that? That would change. The name would change, but every cup would go through Trackmania news. Every cup would most cups would have, a map pack video, and that would really be it. So for me, a lot of cups really blended into one for me. A lot of events really failed to stand out for me, and I can understand now that there is this other option of getting the competitive, jab in the arm, so to speak, with the likes of your Cup of the Day and Open Grand League returning, then it might be that people just don't find anything particularly appealing about playing other cups, because on the face of things, unless you slap a prize pool on it, it's not going to be standing out from the crowd at all. And that does become the nature when you do have a scene which is beginning to spool up and is beginning to attract more events, is that you will need to find more ways to stand out. You're going to have hundreds and hundreds of these cups coming up, but how many of them are you even going to remember? If they're not, if it's not the kind of cup that you think you're going to remember in 6 months, then what's the point in playing it?
Yeah, it's a good point, and I think also maybe this one competition stood out a bit because we had 8 maps from 8 different mappers. There was a team behind that, but this one competition only had for me the reasoning you want to host a competition to host a competition. And Elite Cup, for example, stands very, very out for me. You have the maps, you have the trailer, you have the promotion, you have big casters. I mean, Sadosh kind of ditched out, but still, you get the point. They were really passionate about that, and I think it's a good point that you're mentioning there, that you kind of have to promote it. And if you not promote and if you don't have a good concept, also good maps and a good mindset about that, I think it is hard to think about a tournament. I mean, a tournament that I still think about is for me still the tech tournaments, from Zero to Hero. Great tournament, French Championship, this outstanding moment from 2020. And then, there were plenty of cups in between. Yeah, but usually for me, those were the tech tournaments that really stood out because you had good promotion, you had good mappers, and you also had a good communication, nice prize pool, good community in that. But of course, it's unfair to not say that I probably missed a lot of things. But still, you get the point. And there were like so many competitions that I've casted in the meantime or before that or even watched them. It was like, okay, is it just a competition to host a competition? Do you want to make it special? Or is it just yet another competition? Yeah. So I think that is a huge point that you're mentioning there.
Yeah, maybe just also oversaturation. I mean, we have so many competitions right now, and especially at like the holiday season. I think Phoebe mentioned that earlier. Especially at the holiday season, at some point people have to be like, yeah, let me take a break, and maybe it just like was that timing as well with the oversaturation and the holidays, that just those two cups were just scheduled like at the wrong time completely, and just were really unlucky with that as well, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. There can be plenty of reasons, but I just wanted to let you guys know that there are competitions. And of course, now with Trackmania Grand League, it's getting really busy, and there's kind of like it's unfortunately like that we have Grand League, and hardly any competitions are taking place because the time slots are just not available, and also players don't want to practice for more than 1 or maybe 2 cups. There's Gamers Assembly coming up still, and then there are some other competitions like the Full Speed FSM, I think, the Full Speed Masters coming to an end, and then also some other things that are planned by SOK and his group. Also, Erwin is working on that. when I was understanding that correctly. But yeah, there's not too much going on, and I think that this is also like one of the factors that is important. That Trackmania Grand League is now the thing that we are focusing on right now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, speaking of Trackmania, Grand League, of course, kicked off with its step number 1 over the weekend there. Just on that Sunday, we did, first of all, at 6 p.m, if I'm correct, have the TMGL C, the Challenger League. And following that, we did have the full fat Trackmania Grand League, so to speak, with all of the 16 players going up against each other in, as far as I know, the exact same format. And of course, under its own wins, so to speak. I mean, first things first. I know you casted both of it, Turbo. What's the kind of general thought been? Your kind of first impression been of this new season, and of course, in Trackmania Grand League, experiencing it with someone new as well.
Mm-hmm. So I'm first you gotta go into the Trackmania Grand League Challenger, and I think it is a very, very good idea to have a second division. I mean, we also discussed about that on stream already. I think like 1 year ago we were talking about second division doesn't make it that exclusively, and maybe also for OGL players makes it a bit more accessible to maybe go into Trackmania Grand League Challenger, improve there. And I hope that also a player like Dexter, for example, Dexter, if you see that, play and fucking train, mate. Dude, if
He's
this
never
guy
gonna
doesn't
see
play,
this.
yeah, but still, it's worth a try. But if he doesn't play, he tries like a baby. Oh, the maps, blah, 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 whatever. But I think that the Trackmania Grand League Challenger is a very good idea and also gives people a chance. And this season will develop, and then we're also going to see very good fights. I mean, I've casted Mime, and Mime is definitely a contender for me already beforehand that can definitely make it into the Trackmania Grand League. I mean, seeing his pace, that was incredible. Won the first 2 maps with just a great pace. Second map was 3rd world record on the 6-lapper. So that was just a great performance. And I think that this was a very positive surprise. But there were 1 or 2 things, but I want to go into them later. It's more like viewer based and stuff that really bugged me about that. But first of all, I liked the maps. Like as a spectator, they were good to watch. Also the last map, not too hard. Maybe map number 3 was a bit oof, with the flip being a bit too random sometimes. But hey, that is just my opinion about it. The maps are good. I've also played them a bit. And that's for me from the Challenger. I mean, have you watched something of it? Have you picked up anything from that? I mean, the cast was great that I've done for Mime, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to the next 7 steps.
Yeah, it's weird to say that there is 7 steps. I mean, I was personally, when this came around, I was thinking, wait, I seem to remember there not being that many steps last time, although that was maybe just me being a little bit of a plum. But in terms of the actual, in terms of the event itself, it was relatively nice to watch. I enjoyed it, but I mean, there was a few points with it that I will bring up, which I do not necessarily have a problem with, but I would like to, raise in terms of discussion. But I mean, I think the Trackmania Grand League Challenger League is definitely a step forward, and it's very interesting to see now. And also with 1 map less, coming in with map number 5 being the final and deciding map, of course, a little bit of a change up there, and map 5 having the points multiplier, which has essentially decided, it will decide your final standings just by, sheer force of being able to multiply your points by 5 going into the final map. So definitely a lot to play for in the final map. So by no means does the drama then escape late on in the step, as it didn't, of course, in the previous seasons, as some people were perhaps worried about. But it seems to be generally a bit of a better mood about it. But did you manage to catch any of it at all, Shorty?
Yeah, I was watching the normal TMGL. I didn't catch the Challenger League because obviously I wasn't even at I was at my parents' place, and obviously like I'm there not really often anymore, so I was having like time with my parents there. But I was watching the TMGL on a laptop, and both of my parents were actually also like somehow like somewhat spectating it as well and like asking questions. I think it's safe to say that if you explain how it's going to be played, people understand it. At least that's what I think. I don't know if they actually understood it or not. Maybe they didn't. But yeah, overall, I mean, can't say something about the Challenger League, but I mean, it's the same concept. So something I can definitely say. The concept is way more fair than before, and I don't think it's less exciting. It was obviously a little bit difficult for me like to completely like take it in and watch it in a way where I can like fully invest into it. So I can't really say I was super excited watching it. I mean, I had both my parents next to me. TV was going at the same time, so it was weird, but definitely it was still interesting to watch for me. Even then, the maps were good, I think, overall. As always, I have no fucking idea why Nadio hates wallbang so much. Especially now that the game is basically like they are really consistent now, so there's no reason. But okay, you know, it was just like a funny side gag when whoever I was watching, they just said, yeah, actually they found a wallbang here, but it got like last second Nadio told them, yeah, you're not allowed to. just typical. But yeah, I mean the knockout format on the fifth map also like really works really well, I think. Something I was sad to see though, and I think you're gonna join me in on that. It makes total sense, obviously, but it's sad to see that both Tween and Scrappy are at the bottom of the pack. I think something that's very good with the new system is that unlike before, until the last map, like everybody can like really gain a lot of points, and the further we go with this, and the longer we keep on going, and the closer the skill level of all players is, the closer the points on the last map are going to be. And like now we had like both Tween and Scrappy that were basically at the bottom the whole time, more or less, so they basically didn't really gain any points. But ideally, like you would get to the last map where everyone has like almost always like almost equal points, where the multiplayers really mean a lot, like, and I mean a lot. And I think it works out fine for what it's trying to do. Like, let's be honest, it's still not really fair, but we all know it's a show, so it's not supposed to be fair. And it's also like just it's not the final anyway, right? So it's just basically like the season where you have to get into the playoffs. So a system like that definitely makes perfect sense for that. But yeah, what I was trying to say was just that it's sad that both Tween and Scrappy, obviously the two players without an organization, were at the bottom spot. And I think it just shows that if you don't have an organization and you're not able to win prize money, I think it was like that, then obviously you can see that without the motivation, they just can't. And it's sad to see, you know, like, because we all know that both Tween and Scrappy, if they would be motivated and trained, they would definitely be within the pack. So it would make the whole season even more interesting, and that's what is a little bit sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean it is sad in general when you consider the problem with their performance is not that they're not good enough. You know,
yep.
It's the fact that, of course, they don't have the motivation or the time to be playing at, you know, in this sort of stage, and that's just the way it is, regardless of what the reason is. It's clearly not been put enough on the table for them to be training as much as they could be. You know, like I said, regardless of what the reason it is still quite a big shame that we don't see these two players at their biggest potential. I mean, we saw Tween nearly make it, I believe, to the semi-finals of the playoffs he first attended, only eliminated super late on by being very unlucky.
Was it the beta season?
Yeah, he was. No, I don't think it was the beta season. It was eliminated
1?
by Riolu and Aurel, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Yeah, season 1.
Yes.
So we know Tween. I mean, to an older player, of course, you don't need to be told this, but for anyone out there who is a little bit newer to Trackmania, Tween is one of the very best players of all time. You know, it's very hard to dispute that fact. He has won numerous events himself, and he has had very strong placings at some of the biggest events that have ever been run in Trackmania. So by no means is Tween not capable. Scrappy as well. I mean, Scrappy was a runner-up in a season of Trackmania Grand League, only getting beaten by Carl Jr., has come extremely close in other years, making it to the final, and I believe another occasion, or perhaps two. So he is an extremely capable driver. And especially in Scrappy's case, it feels more motivation rather than time, as of course he spends a lot of his time streaming Trackmania, however, not Trackmania Grand League. But I mean, it is the way it is for these two kind of people. I mean, we saw it from Riolu before, when Riolu was allowed to be discussed, shall we say, when he was streaming a little bit more and playing in Trackmania Grand League, however, very poorly, that it was more coming down to the fact that the guy was not motivated to play Trackmania Grand League and was spending the rest of the time. He was streaming Trackmania on other things. Yeah, Riolu's basically became Voldemort now. That sounds quite adequate, but at least he's still got a nose. But anyway, yeah, I mean, one thing I would like to get your guys' thoughts on in terms of Trackmania Grand League, of course, now we have, which has been a subject of controversy over the past few weeks. I want to get your impression, Turbo, both having been on, in the trenches, so to speak, doing it. And Shorty, if you did manage to get a chance for watching at least more than one kind of stream, did the viewing experience change to you at all? With the introduction of more people now coming into this the scene, with some influencers coming on to cast, and the casting roster changing up a little bit, what did you think, at least of what you did pick up? Or did your parents point at some particular person they liked? Like, what was the script for you there?
I mean, my script was pretty easy. I was just watching the German stream of Granadi to see, to check it out, and I wasn't really in both the mood and the capabilities of switching streams.
Yeah,
I mean,
same.
even the laptop I was using at home, I mean, you definitely didn't have the capabilities, but no, I mean, let's be fair. The stream for Granadi was cool. Like, nothing wrong with that. You could notice that it was their first cast, and I think they're gonna grow into it a little bit more. But yeah, that's not unexpected at all. It was enjoyable, and I liked it. I have nothing bad to say about it, and I really want to catch up and watch the streams from, for example, from Mr. LuckersTurbo.
Hello.
But I didn't do so far, sadly, because
All good.
yeah,
I could also not decide.
next week for sure.
I could also not decide what stream to watch, to be honest. But yeah, I see the issue there. You were asking about the viewing experience getting changed, but yeah, what do they expect? Kind of, it's a bit harsh because I'm casting together with Eri, and Eri is also a very good person. She's a very she's a very likable person, and it was great. Easygoing. She just also has a good pun on her tongue, and just enriches the cast. And of course, I introduced her in my stream, and people from my community were watching. But I mean, yeah, she has 200k Twitter or Instagram followers, and well, I mean, are people interested? If you let's just swap the role. If a Trackmania streamer apparently would cast League of Legends, would you be interested in that? Like watching the cast? Probably
Just
some
a very
people.
just a very small question. Is she actually streaming on Twitch? Because you always just say the
Not that
Twitter
much.
followers, but is she actually a Twitch streamer?
Yeah, she is, but right now she's not really that active. So maybe she will stream beforehand. But yeah, I mean, it's just hard because now do you expect Eminem, who are really putting in a lot of work into that, also to search a new caster and stuff like that, to expect us having more views? That's what they're trying to do.
I mean,
But
probably,
how?
I guess. I mean, why else would you change something, right? You want more views.
And they're doing that, and they're really putting in the effort. It's great to work with Eminem, but of course it's hard to get more views when I have a smaller community, and also there are streamer personalities where Stream Pack is just not a streamer. He's a great player, and a lot of players are interested in that. But where do the views come from? Of course, there were people from my stream watching the cast. There were people from her side, and then also others who were interested in Pack. But that is just a very small percentile of what, for example, the streamer who has just the monopole in it, Virtual, has gotten. And also one thing that was really intimidating and was I was like, what is happening here? Virtual had 4,000 views in the Trackmania Grand League pre-show. Okay, guess how many views the mainstream had for the Trackmania Grand League Challenger? 10% of the views. Very nice. So this is kind of missing the concept there. It's not really that it makes sense to me. Of course, virtual can do what he likes. He is bringing a lot of exposure, and he really deserves to be in that spot. Yeah, but there is some things not going the way because there's one person who gets the pie in the English community. Yeah, then there's Spam also getting views because he has just a good audience, an established audience, and then we have me. Then we have Maji also getting views because she has an established audience. But what do the smaller streamers that are about to get content creators? Yeah, I mean, I'm almost getting partnered. Also, Geek is a great caster, but what are they doing? I mean, they cannot put in more effort than that. Than Eminem trying to bring an influencer and try to bring more numbers. It's really hard. Maybe you understand my point. It is hard to have, and then I still have this concept of the 16 cast. It's still not really that. I don't really understand it that much.
Yeah.
At the moment.
I think the small guys just don't really have a chance, to be honest, with that kind of setup. If you have like 16 streams at the same time, especially the ones that suffer the most are the small streams, because they are not going to get more views, because why? Obviously, no one is going to find that stream because it's the smallest one. That's why you center it. And I also don't really like. I would also just, I don't know. It's so weird, because you can't really do anything about it. Like, no matter what you're gonna try, you also can't just buy big streamer or sep.
Oh
Yeah, you know what I want to say. I don't know. I just can't. But celebrities. Now I can.
You.
Now I can. Yes. Okay. What did I want to say? No, I just wanted to say, like, you can't just really force more views like that. It's I don't know. I don't think that's really maybe the way to go. Even I don't know. I mean, we will see if it works or not. If it works out, but I just don't think you can broaden your audience by basically like trying to buy them more or less. I mean, it's sort of like what the feeling you're getting with like buying people outside of Trackmania into casting Trackmania. It's not. I can see where the idea is coming from, because obviously Trackmania is a great game, and maybe they just work under the thought process that they just have to like give it a shot and they're gonna immediately love it, and maybe that's the case. I'm not sure if it's gonna work like that, but yeah, it's just hard. I think that it's most hard on the small guys, because I don't think Trackmania, no matter how big it's gonna get, like even if it would be really big, I don't think 16 streams is sustainable. At least if you like really aim for all of them being big enough and have a decent amount of views. That's just not gonna happen. Like, people are just gonna flock to the biggest one always. That's just natural.
Yeah. I mean, just to bring up also a point on that about kind of, bringing in people to kind of buy viewers into Trackmania Grand League. That's what was done before. That's what was done before to attract the likes of, Sardosh, Trilux back in the original seasons when they weren't specifically tied to an organization. I believe there's a Polish streamer and perhaps another one, which I have forgotten. But because as I've made no secret, I was approached by Nadeo and asked to source an English streamer if I could, or at least recommend an English streamer who they would pay as long as they had a big enough viewer base to come into Trackmania and stream Trackmania Grand League, regardless of their involvement, either if they've ever played Trackmania, either if they've ever even played racing games. They just simply wanted to buy in the exposure base. And, I'm not going to go into like whether or not I agree with these sort of tactics, because I don't think this is the topic for that. But I think the important thing when I talk about streaming, of course, is always going to be the quality and the quantity for both of them. I do feel like I'm in the same boat with people in the sense that I don't understand making a big deal about having a global stream for your Trackmania Grand League Challenger League, and you're having also the biggest influencer in Trackmania streaming somewhere else, which then diverts attention away from where you want it to be. Because I mean, the way I see it, right, they have shown that on Trackmania Grand League they are going to use Virtual's attention pool, shall we say, and they're going to divert the attention once again for Trackmania Grand League into his channel once again with him streaming on it. However, on the Challenger League, it was different. You know, they presented an official cast. It was going to be through Trackmania. There was some hype around it. And then he streams also. So you're diverting the interest away. And then, you know, a bit bizarre to me. But the one main thing is you're never going to say to someone like Virtual, no, we actually would not like you to stream because there's going to be a stream through Trackmania. In my opinion, I would just basically be saying, okay, you take the official Trackmania Grand League cast then, and then you fill in with whoever it is you want to fill in, because they've shown that's what they want to do with, you know, full fat TMGL, as I'm just going to call it again, because it makes me smile. But yeah, I mean, that part of things is a little bit bizarre to me. But I mean, I don't also want to talk too much about the quality of the different streams I saw, because there is a lot of new faces involved in the casting, and I certainly wasn't a great caster the very first time I started casting, so I'm willing to give these people the benefit of the doubt for the first few steps just to while they get themselves, because some of these people have never casted before. Some of these people do not know how to cast, but they deserve at least the chance from us who were you know, us who can help and us who can, you know, talk about that sort of thing, deserve the chance to improve before we can really judge upon that too much. The only thing I'll say about the quality that I'm disappointed by is I'm disappointed that we are going back to, once again, the same standard of streaming we did for our main stream before, which is having one person controlling it, and it's just essentially one person's, you know, taking the whole show. Whereas, you know, the quality did definitely take a swing up for the in the production side of things for Trackmania Grand League's playoffs, and other competitions have shown that they can put a higher level of production out there. And I mean, past one person then having a bunch of clips loaded up in Trackmania Grand League, like, you know, map previews and stuff like that, I dare say that there is a higher upside that people can then have. And for when you're pooling all of your talent, all of your exposure base into one event, I really think that the bar should be getting set a little bit higher in the quality department. And hopefully there's plans for that soon, now that we do have an established main cast, albeit on a singular person's channel and not a centralized location for Trackmania at the very least, and more for virtual side of things. So I suppose that would be a little bit potentially of an issue to sort out. But in the viewer side of things, I will wait with bated breath to see how things are going to evolve with the new people and the new kind of system and such. But the only other thing I think affected the viewing experience is for those who are looking for Trackmania Grand League to be a purely competitive experience, the point system once again provides a source of disappointment. But the point system, as we will once again highlight, is not there for the sake of, you know, being purely competitive and fair and square. The point system is, well, referencing specifically Map 5, is there to provide entertainment, drama, tension, and keep you engaged and involved until the kind of final minutes and final seconds of the cast. Not just, okay, Carl Jr.'s won maps 1 through to 3. I know he's won, I can just switch off. So, yeah, I mean, me being a competitor always, I'm going to kind of let, you know, I'll bitch about it a little bit in my own head, but I know better to shut the fuck up when, you know, I know that at least there's more of a picture there. So, but yeah, I mean, so viewing experience, if you guys were to summarize it, not really much has changed, or better or worse.
It's better.
I would not. I mean, format-wise, yes, it's better, but well, if you're interested in more than one person, then you have like 10 tabs open or 5 tabs, and
It's
you don't
impossible
know.
to keep track of it.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, you have to pick your side, and it's hard. Like as a streamer for me, who's casting a person that is of course a very good driver, but is not really streaming that much. I would also not watch my stream then. You know, it's hard to like say that. Of course, I'm maybe one of the better casters. Maybe you like me even as the best caster, but I would also see, yo, how's Spam doing if I'm a Spam viewer? Yo, how's Granadi doing if I'm a Granadi viewer? That is just how it is, right? You're just interested in
obviously.
that. And it's just hard to pick your side there. And I'm still a fan of, not having 16 casts, but having maybe one main cast. Yeah. Why am I watching League of Legends Worlds? Not because I'm playing Trackmania, League of Legends, but because I'm interested in the production value. I'm interested in the synergy of the team, which is well established. You know, you have a desk, you have an interviewer, you have this, you have that, you have rotating around that. Why is that not the case in Trackmania? That's still a thing that I'm asking myself. People are behind that. People are working behind that, and I think with that, Trackmania could, of course, not get that exposure, but still get 20 to 30,000 views in a stream, and then maybe grow from there. You know.
I think I can tell you why it's not like that actually. I think I just if I think about it, like obviously what I also want is one stream. Like and I'm not even I don't mean one stream particular, I mean like one stream for each language, obviously, because I mean we always have this predicament with French and English, like because Trackmania is like half French, half not French, more or less, basically, right? So obviously you would want to have like an official French cast because there are so many French people, and we do know that French people kind of like their own language a bit. It's just true. It's a fact. Like, and so like same with Germans, I guess. So you also like you want at least one cast for each language maybe. But I think the main issue with having just one main cast for all the action is it's literally what you just said, Kai. It's impossible to keep track of everything because there are 16 players. It's just way too much to like even if you would have like a whole production crew providing you with clips while round is ongoing and stuff. With the way the format works with the rounds format, it's just always something happening. You can't keep track of everything. And if the stream can't keep track of it, then the viewer also can't keep track of it. And I think that's maybe the reason why Nadio was like, okay, maybe instead of having one cast, we just give people like 16 and they can just choose one main player to follow themselves, and then they don't have to care about all of the other information because the whole stream and the whole viewer experience is just focused on one player, and then they are gonna like view it through that kind of player. Because if I imagine like what the main I'm actually also not really like watching the main cast, and I don't think I will that soon, or like at least like personally. I mean, maybe I'm gonna tune into it to like see how it's going, but it's just like what would you like if I would imagine that, what would you do if you have the main cast? Like what kind of action are you looking at? Are you always just, because either you could also just say always just focus on top 8, but even top 8 is there's a lot of stuff going on, and I think it's very difficult to like sort that out because it's maybe too much.
It's a bit overwhelming for you.
Yeah.
So
because you have 16 players, right? It's so much. I mean, you could maybe just focus only on top 8, and then it's bearable because the point system doesn't care about the people behind 8th place anyway, so you don't have to focus on them. But yeah, but maybe that's the reasoning actually.
But I think, Phoebe, hardly anyone knows that there is either a cast of that, or, I mean, it's kind of contradicting what you're saying there, because how can I say that? I mean, they can choose, but on the other hand, also people have to go and, yeah, like, you know, they have to choose, or they can choose what stream they're watching, but on the other hand, the influencers that are coming and casting have to bring in new people. It's like, you know, I think everyone will stay on their side if they have picked it. If they come from virtual, they will not go away and just all of a sudden watch pack. Maybe one person out of 300-400. You know, it's just a bit weird, that thinking, in my way. Of course, I get your point there, but I also get the mindset behind Nadeo. It's a good idea, you know, having 16 casts for everyone, but it doesn't make sense, because you cannot expect a content creator all of a sudden just forcing to have more views by just implementing a content creator from a different game. You know, that is just my understanding, because M&M is really, really behind that. I mean, they're really putting in the effort. They are helping me with everything, and they're just making a great job, you know, and it just very hard, and you will definitely miss out on something. So having a production crew behind that, with, let's say, every second team is providing one person, then we 8 people, maybe just English side, and then maybe 8 people French side, and then maybe others want to do that. I mean, there would be a force to do. And I'm also not really caring if I'm casting or not. That is not how it goes. I want this game to grow. Yeah, and if I just look on clips and just implement them into that, that would be fine for me. And also, then it would elevate the production value, because then you can do like, oh, okay, this just happened. This is how he crashed. Maybe you can go back into the game and you can check what happened. How did he lose the time? It is possible to do those things. And I think that might be the best thing, to have a main cast, because 16 casts, it is way too much. And you cannot expect someone like Geek, someone like me, or maybe even some other smaller streamer like Nakura to just all of a sudden pull more viewers because there is just an influencer. But that is just my opinion about it.
I think that's the main issue there. I mean, obviously, there's no issue with having so many casts in general. We don't care about it. It's obviously cool that you have like the opportunity to like either watch the main cast, as we all like to do, or like as we all like always pray that we want what that, or we always said that we want the main cast. But if you have like 16 casts, but you just can't expect that the small cast. You can't expect them to have a lot of views, because that's not their purpose anyway, right? It's not the purpose of those point of view casts to be like really big and draw big numbers. That's what you want to do with the main cast. The other ones are just for like people like us, basically, or like for the communities. But I mean, contradictionary is maybe a bit harsh, but I also think that I don't really get that. If you also like say what people just said, that you don't really like that that the viewer doesn't care about how many viewers are on the channel, then why do you? I mean, not force, but why do you approach organizations and tell them to like maybe invest into an influencer? Because that's basically the opposite of that. Then if you already said that we don't care, or like viewers don't care about how many people you have on the channel, then why can't we just have like full focus on the main cast, just
swap
put full
around
focus there,
commentators,
and just I don't even care about swapping commentators, but then just let the point of view cast do what they want, because like why shouldn't Adeo care about how many people watch the point of view cast? That's the only person that should care about it is maybe the player and the organization of that player. And I mean, obviously Caster himself, because he might be feeling like, why is nobody watching me? But I don't think Nadeo has to like. There's no reason. I don't understand. I don't think that Nadeo has to look at that at all. I think Nadeo should just put full focus on the main cast, and just invest all the time and money into that one, and just let the point of view casts do whatever the organizations want to do with it. Because that's, I mean, if you have so many, you want to focus people on one cast, right? Like on the main cast. I don't know. I mean, it's cool to have the point of view cast, but I don't think you want the point of view cast to be big. There's no reason for them to be big. That's why you have the main cast. That's the one that you want to be big.
I mean,
there's no reason to like split your focus on so many different things when you can just put all your focus into the main cast and make that one really successful.
I think Trackmania is too small for that, to have this idea of having a community around the main cast when you have like, let's say 8 steps here. Of course there are people who are cheering for Pack, but they're also cheering for other players, It's like you don't have that side where like, oh yeah, Pack played so good, let's go Pack. You have that rather for players who have a well-established community. Yeah, and that is something that you maybe have to look out on if you take numbers into consideration, because it is just like that. If you stream like Kanadi, you see with Kanadi and also Spam, they just have a fan base, but like others will just click through. I've seen I was taking care of the number count, I was checking, it was going up and down. It is just what it is. And I'm not sure if a community can be established. Of course there will be people watching, but there will not be like a huge fan base that is just getting created because I'm just streaming on the channel. I would be really surprised by that if my view counts really goes up and stays like that and goes up every week. I don't think that this will happen too much.
So what I just want to get in quickly, because Phoebe, what you're writing is obviously completely right. Like obviously we don't see what you're trying to do, and we get that you do care about the point of view cast, and that's obviously not wrong. But I just, the thing is, I don't think you should. That's my opinion, right? I could like we can argue about if it's good, bad, or like if it's right or wrong. There's no right or wrong there, but I think you shouldn't care, because that's the issue. Because we don't see everything, and because we only like get to know things through like your channels and Necro situation, things like that happen because of that. Because I think even though it's virtuous of Nadeo to like try and make the point of view casts grow and stuff, I don't think it's Nadeo's responsibility to do that. I think that's the organization's responsibility, and I think that's what might have also like been the issue with the Nekura case, because it's nice to know that Nadeo wants to like make it grow, but maybe it's just something that Nadeo maybe shouldn't meddle in, because even though they are trying to make it good, it's just not helping as much as they would like to. Maybe that's my opinion about that. I mean, obviously we don't know what's going on behind the back, but that's just that's exactly my point, basically, right? So that's just because that's just it's nice that Nadir wants to help, but it's just a situation where I think it's the organization that should just have the like full responsibility there. Nadir should just keep out on that, because otherwise, especially with Necro, you see that Nadir is taking the blame, even though maybe Nadir isn't responsible for that at all, you know? Because exactly like Phoebe said, we don't know the insights on that. Maybe it just was completely stupid to blame Nadir, because in the inside, maybe Nadir was like exactly the opposite, right? Maybe it was the exact opposite of what Necro was saying, but we will never find out, right? And obviously Nadir is taking the heat on that, because that's how it's going to look to the outside.
I mean,
that's the issue with that, you know. Nobody can win in that situation.
I mean, just to kind of move on a little bit from the kind of I feel like we've had this discussion a million billion times.
we are not done with that. I think
we're not done with it today, and we'll probably it'll probably end up bringing up, you know, in a few weeks' time, no doubt. But one thing I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on as well was the results, of course, of Trackmania Grand League and the Challenger League. I mean, of course, I'll read out at least the top 8, but not necessarily the full thing. So for the TMGL Challenger, you had Mime first, Otak second, Link third, Cap fourth, Evon fifth, McQuattro sixth, Hydra 7th, Wosel 8th, and the rest you had Soldier and Exotica, Snow, Razzie, Energize, Default, Fegley, and Revolution. And in Trackmania Grand League Step 1, you have Aurel first, Granadi second, Afi third, Carl Jr. 4th, Mudder 5th, Binks 6th, Papu 7th, Pack 8th, and then you have Bren, Spam, Massa, Kappa, Gwen, Worker, Scrappy, and Tween down at the bottom. So what's the overall kind of impression of the standings for both of these events after round 1?
So Trackmania Grand League Challenger, Mime with a really good performance. Also Wosel played really well. He didn't get a multiplayer, if I recall it correctly. A little bit like pulled the pack from the Trackmania Grand League, so they're like a bit mirrored. They had the same amount of points, but I think I'm a bit disappointed seeing Revolution down there, actually, in the Trackmania Grand League Challenger.
I didn't know the results until now, but I'm definitely also... It's weird that he's so far down.
Yeah. And I think that he can definitely do better. You know, Mime is almost already qualified due to his big amount of points. He has,
I mean, same with Aurel.
Yeah, but yeah, well, I kind of like the format. Yeah, the format looks great compared to the previous one, but I think that the multiplier might be a bit too harsh. Yeah, it might be a bit too harsh that you have really ×5. I think 1.5, 2, and 3 would be very nice. That you have 1.5 for the first 4 rounds, then you have 2 for 2 rounds after that, and then 2 for the last 2 rounds. 3 for the last 2 rounds. That would be perfect, because I think with ×5, but I think that's also what Nadeo wants. That is, of course, again, only my opinion. They want it to be that it play even like Tween. Let's say this continues like that and Tween doesn't perform. Tween could still make it, maybe even get top 5 in the last step. And I think that's what they want to have, this tension to the last second. The player that can make it. Also Scrappy getting a multiplier and going up 9 points. But there you can see it's not only important that you get this multiplier, it's also important how many points you get before, and that you definitely land in the top 8, because top 8 is getting a huge cut. 8th place is 15 points, 9th place is 5 points. And that is just so vital for you to get those 15 points, at least in each round. I mean, those are 60 points. And then times 2, we have seen Carl Jr. just saying, okay, yeah, I'll just take 64 points and times 2. Was a smart decision. Afi was also super close of not getting his points, but times 3 he gets there. That was very, it could have been very traumatic for him. Also, Granadi with a great performance. Really good to see that best Trackmania Grand League debut here from him. Very cool to see that. And then, Aurel, just a super marcy here with 415 points already. Great to see that. 83 points times 5. A lot of points for him. Very nice to see that.
Can we talk about how fucked up, how it must suck to be Kappa though? Like, I mean, I don't know. It feels so bitter because I watched Twitter and stuff, and so many posts about Aurel, he made it. He's basically already safe. And then if you've watched the round, like Kappa had it, and nobody's talking about Kappa. It's so sad. Like, it's so harsh. It really is.
Do you know what I find really funny about that situation? Is like following that, don't get me wrong, Aurel had a great step up until that point.
Yep.
But everyone was like, oh yeah, I've always said Aurel's so underrated, Aurel's such a great player. Oh yeah, I always said Aurel's like a dark horse to the league and stuff like that. Like, where were all these people when he was winning everything else or performing really well outside of, like, it's not as if Aurel just came out of nowhere. He's been a top level player for like 7-8 years now, and especially in multi-style. So I mean, I did find that quite laughable, but yeah, very unlucky for Kappa for sure.
Well, weren't there people complaining about Aurel being player of the year 2020, a nominee? Weren't there players complaining, and also that Carl Jr. didn't get as many votes? Well, there you have the answer, guys. There you have it.
Aurel better than Carl Jr. confirmed.
Yeah, no,
but
I mean
2021.
It's no surprise for me. Aurel was sick. I mean, I didn't see him in the top 1 spot, but definitely in the top 5. Yeah, I'd definitely see him. Also, speaking about top 5, Muda doing great. Binks 6th place, very nice to see that as well. Then Masa had a kind of unfortunate step, as well as Kappa. Yeah, throwing away the times 5 there, just at the ending. Gwen, I don't know, he just performed on one map, and also, it was Ari saying if he's maybe trolling. Yeah, that's what she said about him. And then also, the 2 Orcless players in the back, Scrappy and Tween. I think you can really see that they are not that motivated, and I was also calling out it beforehand. Maybe you remember it last week. Yeah, biggest surprise, I think that Tween will demote this season. Of course, he will perform when it matters. But hopefully. 8 points as a start is really weak for the Orcless player.
Yeah, that's less. That's an average of like 15 and a half position, per. There's no points loss. So having less than 10 points, I think, is, completely unacceptable. But, I mean, for a player of both of their capabilities, of Scrappy and Tween, to come out with such a low amount of points, considering there is no points loss, is a bit of a joke, to be honest. But I mean, you can also have a really unlucky step and just have it be the way the cards fall. That's just the way it is. But definitely expecting better from them, and hope to see better from them in the next few weeks.
Something that was multiple people were mentioning on Twitter, and I think it's maybe a good opportunity to talk about that. Multiple people were more or less complaining, not really complaining, obviously, but sort of, that this feature of the new game where you can see your position on the car should be able to be turned off. And it's difficult. You can argue about that, if it's fair or not fair. Like, people really called it unfair, which I don't particularly agree with, because it's still, I mean, yes, it affects people differently, but it's still fair because it's the same for everyone. But let's be honest, there should be a way to disable it. I mean, you have this opportunity to like play with hard off in the game for for how long the game already exists. And the fact that now you have the number on the car it's a cool feature. It's great. I like that, even though I always forget that it's there. Literally, I always forget it. I don't know why. I'm playing and I wonder, okay, which position am I? Even though I fucking have it on my screen, but yeah, it's you don't like in a competitive setting. You just don't want that, and a lot of competitive players always played with HUD off, so exactly they don't see these kind of things. And the fact that you have this in the new game and no way of turning it off it's inconsistent compared to before. Maybe let's say it inconsistent because it's a new feature, and compared to how the game works, it should be able to be turned off. And I think it might not be that easy to do it, but I think it should be done, to be fair.
I'll say about this, right? Do you know what this reminds me very much of, Shorty, and you would have had this quite a lot as well, as when it came to events like Trackmania Pro League, Gamers Assembly, whatever, the cars on or cars off debate. How you would have people who would be unreal players. Like I remember this very specifically, actually. My qualifier, or one of my first matches for Trackmania Pro League Season 1, I was in Division 2, and it was against Beef from Lioncast. I'm sure Tom, who was in Mad Drivers, was there, and one other driver. I can't remember exactly who it was. And they played terribly below what their capabilities were, and they put it down to the fact that they were completely unaware that the event had forced cars on. So what that means for anyone who's unaware is, of course, you get ghosts, and you have cars showing up on the track that you can choose when to switch them on and off in the game. However, in most of your notable tech events, it was forced on. So no matter what, you could always see opposing cars on the track. So that is a very big distraction, and it does take an adjustment time. I mean, Shorty, you'll be able to say that as much as I do, that regardless of how focused you are on your own track, it will still be a distraction having 3 other cars around you, or in the case more in some other events. But this is what that reminds me of in that kind of sense, is that people were always saying, oh yeah, I've choked so many rounds because I get distracted by this car. I remember Onyo was telling me how he was switching to cam 3 so he didn't have to see people in front of him and or around his car and stuff like that.
Well, he did that though. He literally did it.
Yeah.
He didn't just tell you about it. He literally did it.
And I mean, for one of the best players, for one of the best tech players in the world to go to that sort of length just for the sake of, a car's on or off kind of thing, as well, to test it out, of course. But it just goes to show how much little things, well, I suppose that's more of a bigger thing, but can really affect people. But as we say, it's the same for everyone. It's not as if you have, like you did in Trackmania Pro League, a carty who have fucking 7 billion ping flying about the track everywhere. You don't really have that problem with this. Kind of positional indicator. It's really keeping you up to date with how you're doing. It's not. Here's the way I look at it. Right, you should not be focusing on the back of your car anyway. It's easy to say that 100%. It's easy to say, just don't focus on it.
It changes color though. It even changes the color though. It's the thing is, like, obviously your eye is drawn to change, and the car is always at least within your peripheral vision. So if the number changes and the color changes, your eyes are naturally drawn to it. And obviously it affects people differently, and it's similar to cars on or off, but I don't think it's quite completely the same, maybe. But that's weird. I mean, I don't mind it that it's there, but obviously I'm someone that's I'm not having issues with that, so it's easy for me to say, right? I still think it should be able to disable that. In my opinion, it's not a big thing, It's not like it adds anything to the game or stuff like that, where you could say. I mean, obviously in LAN parties it was really cool to like be behind somebody and you could always see all cars and stuff like that. But unlike with cars off, where you just always see the cars and you see them move and you always see them, like the positions are just the position changes is just instantaneous, and I think it's probably more annoying than cars off, because it's not something you can just get used to, because as you said with the cars on debate, it's like you go to your first LAN and you shit. Like no, like you have people on the first LAN where people are like, oh yeah, he's gonna destroy everyone, and he's gonna be so fucking bad because he never played with cars on, and that's really distracting if you're not practiced to that. But if you can practice that, but with the number on your car, I think it's not something you can practice and get used to, the normal way at least. So that's why I think it should be. It would be. Let's not say it should be, but let's say would be nice if you could disable it.
Yeah, it should definitely be a reason to change that. The first time I actually was like seeing that one being an issue was when I was watching Spam like more than 1 year ago playing the Pittsburgh Knights Cup. He was so distracted by that because his number was just going from 1 to 6 to 3 again, and
Yeah.
it was very distracting for him to play because you needed a certain amount of points also in cup mode. You need that, and yeah, I think not everyone is used to do that, and it should be an option. Yeah, like with the alternative Camp 3, we also had that, and I think nothing will be harmed because of that. Maybe also someone can play better with that number. I don't know.
I mean, it's nice to have the information if you want the information, but if you don't want the information, I mean, the way I see it is, I think it's similar to previously it was always on the interface, and you always had the option to like play with interface or not. So you always had the option: do you want to know it or do you not want to know it? Now with the new feature, you're forced, and that's what I don't like about it. It's easy to say that, yeah, like somebody also in the chat already wrote he's fine with that honesty. The thing is, it's easy to say that if it's not bothering you, but if it's bothering you, then yes, sucks, right? Because you can't do anything about it. It's not like with cars on, you just play a couple of LAN events and you're used to it. You just don't. That's the thing with that, right? That's the issue. I mean, like if you really practice, it's not something you can really practice. It's difficult. That's why I think it would be nice to be able to disable it. Obviously, it's fully fair. It's the same situation for everyone, and maybe you're just not cut out to be a pro player if that annoys you, or like if that distracts you so much you just crash. But I mean, being consistent with how the game always was with the interface on and off, I think it would be nice to have that option. Not that I personally care because I'm not affected by that, but still.
But yeah, I mean, in general, I think it's a huge discussion. Maybe this will get changed. But what do you think about this new format? I mean, we have talked about that. We have now 5 maps that are played, and only one map is getting cycled out each week. So map 5 becomes map 4, map 4 3, map 3 gets 2, map 1 map 1 is getting cycled out, and map 5 is the new one. So we only have 5 maps that we played, but of course the new multiplayer that we have with the first 4 rounds, you multiply points times 2, in the next 2 rounds times 3, then times 4, and then times 5. So there are 8 chances of you to close it out. Yeah, if you have won a round, then you are not able to play the other rounds. And what do you actually think about this tournament or about this format? Because usually I think winning times 2 rounds might be, can you say a bit easier, but it seems that players who are fast or maybe even faster on those maps tend to not risk it in those rounds and just go for the times 3, times 4, times 5. Yeah, that was my impression when I was casting both TMGLC and Trackmania Grand League.
I mean, I like it in the kind of sense of, just purely if I understand it for what it is, I can watch it. It's perfectly fine. I like the way they do the one map in, one map out. So it establishes familiarity, but with a new kind of added flavor with the final map, of course. But yeah, I mean, I think it's kicked off well. People seem to be in a better mood about it. It's not as if we're finishing a step and people are fucking crying everywhere about someone having lost points or whatever. Well, I mean, I suppose some people were with Kappa, but some people will never be satisfied. But anyway, like me. But yeah, I mean, I think it's kicked off pretty well. I mean, I'm hoping that the next steps at least throw up some excitement. We don't just see a few people, getting massive points hauls and then just disappearing and become like I don't want Carl Jr. being on a million billion points like he seems to be every season and giving up after the third step just because he has nothing left to do.
I don't
Like
think it's gonna happen this time because of
yeah.
the multiplayers. It's gonna be. I mean, you saw it with the first step. If he's gonna continue like that, he's never gonna have like this big gap.
Yeah,
He's
it's
still
Carl.
kind of chilling, I guess.
Yeah,
He's just
well,
think
chilling
so
in
as well.
first then.
yeah, I mean, well, we'll see. It's Carl Jr. after all. But yeah, I mean, interesting so far. And yeah, looking forward to seeing how things end up.
Yeah, same. The multiplier makes everything very interesting. Also, that we have now 8 steps in term compared to the 6 ones beforehand. It makes everything very good. So Challenger League also everything can happen there, but also OGL. I think there is a different format where I think your best 6 steps count, and you can also get into a division again. I still have to look into that because I will probably cast that one as well for Ratchet.
Yeah, I also have to like look into OGL. I mean, obviously, right now I can't even practice the maps, but I mean, I tried playing with a different gamepad, so I
Yeah.
could maybe have some more fun with the TMGL maps, but we will see. But overall, I mean, since we are basically just talking about how great the new system is, I guess I'm also gonna do that. No, I mean, the map rotation. I guess I don't know. Personally, I'm viewing that from a different perspective. Me as a player, I don't like it. I don't think it's bad. I just don't like it because I want more new maps each time with less practice time. Personally, always still want that. Also for TMGL would be nice personally, but that's just what I'm thinking. I know a lot of people don't agree with that. So coming from that, then I guess most people are happy about the change because that's what most people seem to have wanted. And the point system in general is really nice because like on the first 4 maps it's somehow not completely the same feeling as before, but because of the big point gap you still have sort of the feeling, yeah, people have to get into top 8. So like if you're watching a specific player or rooting for specific players, you still want them to get to top 8 like before. And on the last map, I think the multiplayers work out well. That's all I can say right now. I don't think we can already tell what people are going to try to do because I think it's still in the development phase where people are still thinking about what to do. I mean, it was the first step also for the players in both Challenger League at TMGL. And we saw some unexpected things, maybe with Carl Jr., for example. I don't think many people expected him to just go for the first win.
True.
Something you have to definitely see is that the earlier rounds are actually somewhat harder to win in theory because you have more people contending for it in theory right now, because right now it seemed like almost everyone is just trying to win the round, which makes sense. And if you're like going to like top like the 6th, 7th, and 8th round, you obviously have way less people, and with the high risk that is involved in winning those rounds in those 2 levels, you have a lot of crashes, right? So with less people, it's also somewhat maybe it's easier is wrong is weird to say, but it's definitely you can definitely say that with less contenders you have a bigger chance of winning that round. But obviously you're getting closer to closer where you are also forced to win the round because otherwise you just fucked up. But it's gonna be interesting to see how it develops, if it's gonna stay like now, or if just people just actually start trying to go for different kind of strategies there. And like, did we see DNFs? I mean, people obviously
Yeah,
DNF
we
and
have
crash,
seen.
but I don't think
We have also seen
we
Peck
have seen.
accidentally making a mistake.
Oh well, I mean, okay, but we will see how it develops.
Or
It's
was it?
definitely
Or was
interesting
it
to
mine or
watch.
Peck? Some of them. Like there was someone ahead and just crashed the last. I think it was mime. It was mime crashing into the last. I think in the
Okay.
times 2 rounds.
I didn't see the Challenger League, obviously. So maybe there it was true, but also the skill gap the skill gap arguably is bigger in the
Yeah.
Challenger League. So going for these kind of strategies is obviously more viable there. So we will see how it's still interesting to see. And something that's also very good about the multiplayers, the higher multiplier is at the end. So it's not like cup mode, for example, where we always say that reverse cup mode might be really cool. Where in normal cup mode you have like the first place is decided first, which is kind of what all people care about, and people just don't care about who's gonna get like second or third. They're just already leaving. And in TMGL, like the most exciting position is the one that gets decided last, and that's a very good point as well.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I'm really looking forward to how this is going, because now we have 8 steps in terms compared to 6. Also, with all that community building, and maybe we're gonna have a development of that. You know, there will be a lot of things that I'm looking forward to. Of course, we talk very negative about that because we just bringing in our suggestions. We don't want to sound that negative, of course. We love that game, and we love Trackmania Grand League. So, hey, you know, we only boomers who love this game and worry about it. So I hope that this will work out nicely at the end, and that we're gonna see a good development, because Trackmania is definitely a game that we can see on top of the esports, if you ask me. Yeah, and also I hope that everyone will kind of perform in the TMGL, because I'm a bit worried about Scrappy and also Tween.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess if only 2 people don't perform, it's okay. You still got 6 other spots that get that are really bad, but you obviously want to all people to. It just looks bad if 2 people are just always not even trying. You don't want that, obviously.
Yeah,
Maybe
for
they
sure.
can refocus and sorry, yeah.
No. I mean,
Yeah, I wanted to. No, I'm kidding.
I was just gonna kind of agree with you in that kind of sense there, and I think it's yeah, there's a few things we'd expect, well, not expect, but look for in terms of the next few steps of Trackmania Grand League. We do have more steps to look forward to, and of course the next ones will be coming up every Sunday. Of course it will be, and it will be on 6 p.m. for your Challenger League and 8 p.m. for your main Trackmania Grand League. So we've got that to look forward to, and at the very least we'll be back here each week, or maybe not each week, but we'll try at the same time in the same place as always, for talking about Trackmania's events over the weeks. But if you do have anything you would wish to contribute to in terms of any topics you would wish for us to discuss, or any issues on your mind, then as always, hit any of us up, or check out the socials for us, which should be appearing on the screen for you. And feel free to suggest anything, and we'll be happy to take anything into account when we're talking about this. I mean, a core part of this is also, I mean, we react to what everyone else wants to talk about. You know, it's not just what we can think up on the day, although sometimes we will just, you know, try and fill space for that, it feels like. But yeah, I mean, hopefully this time next week when we're back again, Shorty's got his computer, he's got set up and everything else, and we can certainly hope that will be sorted for next week. But until then, we hope everyone has a very nice evening. This has been your next episode of Let's Talk Trackmania, as always brought to you by the beautiful LuckersTurbo and Shorty and ESAC.gz, with the main man Erwin Webber behind the scenes. And I have been your host, Mr. TMScotsman. I will wish you all a very good night and speak to you all next week. But bye for now.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.